Whether you're a free-to-play player or a person who spends money in Idle Heroes, I hope today is a video that you can actually get some value from, because we're going to be discussing the implications for where your money will take you or where free-to-play playing will take you in Idle Heroes. It's hopefully a little bit of a history lesson for some of you, so you can realize just how good things have gotten in this game compared to where it used to be, but also problems that have arisen from DH Games' changes and what they mean for free-to-play and spender players alike. So we're going to take a look at some various events and discuss what we expect in the future, and also what you guys can hopefully save, whilst also reflecting on how rough the last few months have been, and also give a little bit of hope for people who are new players, and also maybe some feedback for DH Games. It's no secret that any free-to-play or budget player has likely suffered over the last few months. And that's because DH Games in the early game give us enough materials to build our first E5, so that's not going to be tricky. It's actually your second and third E5 that might become a bit more problematic, because DH Games have in recent events given us plenty of opportunities to pick up 9-star chests and 6-star chests. This food allows us to make progress, which is fantastic, but the one thing we've really struggled to get is 5-star hero chests. In fact, we missed a Sky Labyrinth a few months ago, which was an opportunity to get a chest. You could potentially low roll on Imp's Adventure and not get yourself a chest, and outside of that, they haven't been giving chests as rewards. If you take a look at the Halloween event, you can see that this first area is giving 10-star food, it's giving Cloud Island materials, and skin selection chests. These are all great when you've already got a hero to upgrade in the Cloud Island, or you need more 10 stars for further imprints and further E5s. That's fine, but food and resources are only useful if you've got heroes to give them to. On top of this, the next area has mysterious artifact chests. Brilliant. It's got glorious flags. Fantastic. It's got spiritual essence, it's got sublimation material, all the stuff you need to help advance and build up that team you've got. But again, it's not helping you to get hero copies. And moving on further, we have Essence Sublimation and Cause of Origin. These are fantastic if you're an advanced player who wants to push their end game account or late game account. Even in mid game, they can be super useful. But unfortunately, again, for people that are just desperate for hero copies, there is nothing here to benefit you. A long time ago, Transcendence events, or even just big heroic summons events like this, used to have a way that you could go ahead and cash your materials in from doing stuff like this, right? Where it's saying, do your heroic summons, spend a bit of money, obtain 5-star heroes, and go ahead. And the Awakening bit's new, but this used to be build whatever hero is the event hero, or maybe sometimes it would say do tavern quests. Either way, there were ways of getting these resources for free and exchanging them for 5-star chests, or even just glory epic hero selection chests, which is still fantastic to get your hands on. But unfortunately, they don't give that stuff anymore. And if you're a new player, getting hero copies is something really, really important. But there is a weird dynamic. If you're already an established player, you don't need hero copies. Take a look at my bag on the VIP series. This account is 18 months old and has been consistently spending throughout each event as they come. And you can see I am absolutely covered in chests. And that's because chests are frequently given, or at least were frequently given, during events in the year that has passed. Now they move away from that because just look! It's absolutely ridiculous. So many established players are already fine for chests. In fact, they are fine for food. The one thing they need more of is promotion stones to use that food and those chests. And it gets to a point where really you don't need any more hero copies to progress. But unfortunately, DH Games have taken this mindset where just because players that are already established don't need 5-star heroes, they've assumed that nobody does. But the reality is it makes it more difficult for new people to get into the game because they are struggling for copies. Now, this isn't necessarily entirely true, because if you joined the game back in Easter, there were loads of fantastic events, tons of ways to get 5-star heroes and glory epic chests. There were tons of ways to get free artifacts. In fact, if you started the game in Easter, it was probably the best time to start the game, because there were events that rewarded you. Unfortunately, after Anniversary, events always slow down. So in that time from April, May, and June, building up into Anniversary, there's so many good events. But as things have slowed down through the end of the summer and now going into autumn and almost winter now, the only good event to get excited for is the Mid-Autumn Festival, and once that's gone, Halloween, which is this week. That means you have months and weeks of nothing to do. No ways of getting good heroes. You just have standard Imps Adventure and standard Sky Labyrinth to make steady progress. And unfortunately, given how DH Games have been giving so much food to free-to-play players, you've got all this food, all this material to build heroes, but no actual copies to go and build them. On top of that, it's also encouraged in the community that you don't use your profit orbs during orb events unless it's giving something really good, which means a lot of players are stockpiling profit orbs, which were typically a good way to get 5-star heroes, but we're stockpiling them for something good. But by doing that, we're removing one of our opportunities to pick up 5-star heroes. As a way to combat this, DH Games have gone and changed a few things. If you go and take a look at the altar, you can now buy in this store copies of people like Ignis, Rogan, heck, even Eloise is in here, and Fiona if you need her as a tenant for Swordflash. So they are aware that it is difficult to get hero copies. And on top of this, they've addressed the guild shop. If you go ahead to the guild territory in the guild store, there are other good heroes that are available. Tix is coming in at a discounted price of only 100,000 guild solidus. Ignis is the same price. Rogan is the same price. These are fantastic heroes. Going back here, you've even got Amun-Ra there and the Transcendence heroes available for pickup. And even if you're an early player, you might even pick up your last copy of Penny or Garuda if you were building those as your first E5s. So there are opportunities to build good heroes. But if you don't want to build any of those heroes, you're in a bit of an awkward situation because you're being forced down that path. Now, typically, it's not a problem. Carry and Tix are fine heroes. Ignis is needed. But also, getting Guild Solidus is quite tricky. And a lot of free-to-play players may fall into the trap of using guild coins for Guild Solidus, which is absolutely terrible. You should be using it to upgrade your guild tech, which is far more important. But the problem that's arisen from all of this is that the word free-to-play has started to lose a lot of its meaning. If you're a free-to-play player, you could have just started the game, or you could have been playing for a year or two. I see in my comment sections on YouTube all the time lots of people complaining about updates and saying they don't benefit free-to-play players. I find this perplexing because a free-to-play player who's been playing for a year will absolutely love the opportunity to grab Essence Sublimation. But of course, a free-to-play player who's only been playing for a month is looking at this stuff and going, well, I can't use any of this. This is stupid, and I haven't saved my resources. The funny thing is, we've been telling you for months and months and months the way to go ahead and complete this event is to do 900 heroic summons. We've been saying it until we're blue in the face, that if you go ahead and complete this using 900 heroic summon scrolls, obtain your 5-star heroes, you'll get 12 of these little kiddos, and you'll be able to get yourself either an artifact, sublimation, or if you're like me, you could have gone for spiritual essence. The point is, you needed to have saved those 900 scrolls as a free-to-play player. And lots of people are like, wait, how do you do this? How do you get all these scrolls? People literally have to save for months and months and months. A lot of you don't realize that people skip events month after month after month after month waiting for something like this. And even if an event like this comes along, and they only have, let's say, 600 scrolls, they just leave it and move on. Being a free-to-play player is not about being able to complete every good free-to-play event. It's about saving and saving and saving until you're at a point where one does come up that fits with the fact that you've saved. Free-to-play players, especially new ones, seem to be in this mindset that they should be able to get the free rewards every event and moan that they didn't have enough of the resources. This is actually totally normal. It's hard to save up resources. Gems aren't something you should be throwing into heroic summon scrolls, especially if you're a free-to-play player, because, well, they're needed for big events. Why would you go ahead and spend your gems on these things? Even I struggle sometimes for gems, and I'm buying cores and scrolls every day on an account that spends money. I would never encourage a free-to-play player to pick up scrolls every day unless they had a genuine massive stockpile of gems, like 100,000 or something stupid. So don't worry, right? If you're a free-to-play player, holiday season will be bringing lots of opportunities to grab free resources, whether it's through scrolls, whether it's through profit orbs, whether it's through wishing coins at Thanksgiving, all these things we've told you about in advance, and hopefully you've managed to save. If you're a new player, things will be different. New players haven't had the time to save. If you've only just joined this channel maybe in the last month or two, and all this news about saving and getting excited for holiday season is, new to you, yeah, you're not going to have saved anything. Give yourself a bit of a reality check. Realize that actually, yeah, I haven't had the time some of these people have, and realize people have been saving since April for stuff like this. So, yeah. The nice thing though is holiday season will probably give us some events where artifacts are just given for free, where you actually don't need to have saved anything. You can just go into the event and you should be able to get at least one artifact for free. So don't worry, free-to-play players. There will be opportunities where you can complete events if you didn't save, but typically the attitude is you needed to have saved to get the rewards. So if this is new to you, start saving, and hopefully in a few months you'll be able to crack on and make progress. I am aware the struggle for 5-star copies is a thing, and I know you should probably have a lot of food, and it is a bit annoying. I'm with you in this, and hopefully DH Games can find a way to fix it to improve the amount of 5-star heroes that we get that are worth building. In fact, that brings me on to my final point about 5-star heroes. It's that DH Games have been really focusing on Transcendence heroes recently. I don't know if you've noticed, but they've been giving out these Transcendence copy selection chests almost all the time, rather than giving us 5-star hero chests. I don't understand what their deal is. I know they're giving these because whales love to awaken Transcendence heroes, but look, we need heroes that aren't transcendent. DH Games, please give us just normal chests. You realize that these chests are just worse versions of the Glory Epic chest. Why don't you just give out Glory Epic chests? They contain all the Transcendence heroes anyway, and whales are probably still going to use them for Transcendence heroes, but it also gives free-to-play players the opportunity to pick up Light and Dark heroes and all the other good heroes they want. Maybe it's an Ithaca, maybe it's a Tix, maybe it's an Ignis. I don't care, but please, just give us these chests instead of these stupid Transcendence chests that are frighteningly limited and really unhelpful. So if you're with me on that one, let me know in the comment section, and hopefully DH Games can get on the back of that feedback, because it is very, very irritating. Now, one additional point is that if you're a mid-spender, someone who maybe spends $100 every now and then, you actually get some good stuff. This game is at a point now where money gets you way more than it used to. There was a time when artifacts were $200 and that was considered normal, and then they were $150 and we were like, wow, that's dead cheap. And then they brought out the Almost Workshop and told us we needed to get tons and tons of artifacts, and I thought that was ludicrous. And as the years have gone by since Almost Workshop's release, you now can expect with $100 to pick up maybe 2 to 3 artifacts. So artifacts are worth maybe like $40 to $50 now, which is really, really, really good. It's way cheaper than it used to be. And a little bit of consistent spending gets you good rewards as well as just artifacts. Like you get tons of resources, you get gems, you get gold, you get spirit, you get promotion stones. You also get a ton of resources potentially thrown in there like sublimation if you spend wisely. And it's really nice, especially when you get food on top of all of that. So you get 9-star heroes and 6-star heroes as well, which makes moving forwards with your progress a lot easier. You get way more heroes, way more resources, way more value from your money nowadays. And I think if I could turn around to myself and just start again with the cash that I have, that would have been great. That would have been so nice just to take all the money I've spent and spend it on the game now. But of course, I wouldn't be where I am if I hadn't have spent the money earlier. And the game will continue to do this, by the way. Things will get cheaper as new stuff comes out. That's totally normal. In fact, there is this weird fear of missing out that happens when new events give new things. Look at the Viking Saga the first time that came around. People needed to spend loads of money to get these skins for Celestial Island. But if you look at last week's event, we literally had a ton of ways of getting the skins. And I know Jess, who's my friend, she's a free-to-play player, and she managed to get all of the Celestial Island skins without spending any money at all. So there were ways to get really good stuff that event without spending money, and it was stuff that you needed to spend a lot of money on to get last time. So that was really cool to see. On top of that, flags. Like, flags were really expensive when they came out. Now they're just given out alongside artifacts, which is totally normal. And you get relics as well. They're worth less than artifacts, which I find hilarious. Shows how much they've dropped in value. On top of that, artifacts, the fact that they're given so freely, the fact that they're so cheap, and the fact they're so easy to pick up, it makes life really easy for mid-spenders who want to go ahead and establish all of the artifacts they can to build up their team. So whether it's Golden Crown, whether it's Ruby Scepter, whether it's 8 Demon Bells, whether it's an AMB or Melodic Strings, artifacts are easy to pick up. And I think we're going to be surprised with the new artifact that's coming out this month. I don't know if you've seen, DH Games have announced they're releasing a brand new artifact. That's probably going to have some silly price tag attached to it. And this is where this fear of missing out message is going to come in. it will be expensive when it first comes out. And that's just to make whales spend to pick it up, and people think, oh no, I've got to grab it. And they'll make all this big hum-ha about it, and everyone will make a fuss that, oh no, this is dead expensive, it's not fair. But I promise you, in 2 to 3 months' time, it will become just as easy to get as normal artifacts, and it will take them, okay, a long time to put it in the glory shop. But outside of that, it'll be given in chests, so if you spend as normal, you'll eventually get it, and you don't need to worry. This happens all the time. Just look at this event for Halloween. We mentioned it earlier. You can now get Essence Sublimation for free if you use 900 scrolls. This is an item that you've normally had to spend money to get. So it shows a trend and a change, that stuff that was originally behind a paywall is now available for free. And it also brings us nicely into discussing the Void campaign, right? A lot of people have moaned that there's things like the X upgrades that are hidden behind walls, the stone boost that's hidden behind walls, the armor bonus that's hidden behind walls. But I know free-to-play players who have gone ahead and reached these milestones. But that's because they've been playing for years and years. It really just is hidden behind these milestones so that it doesn't affect the balance of the early game, because early game is really nicely balanced. There's a nice way of progressing through it. We've kind of solved it with teams using LOEs, but there are other teams that are totally fine, and if you've got the artifacts and if you spend, your freedom is even bigger, because you can build some really fun lineups using maybe one Transcendence hero as you get them to really crush through the early and mid-game stuff, and then when you finally reach the late-game stuff like Void Campaign, you then get even more rewards to continue and unlock progress. And this is another thing, right? If progress was fixed and linear, if everything you did was just taking you up and up and up, every additional bit of bonus you get would be less meaningful than what came before. Because if you think about how your life progresses, every additional year is not as much of your life as it was the year before. For example, someone who is 1 year old who becomes 2 has literally doubled their age. But if you're 19 and you turn 20, that year is worth 5% of your life. So the huge differential between getting another 10-star hero begins to diminish. So what DH Games have to keep doing is releasing new power creep and new stuff to make whales feel like they're making meaningful progress every time they spend their money. So that's why they've released Awakening. That's why they've released Essence Sublimation, Spiritual Essence, all these things that when you look at them, you're like, what the heck? This power creep's insane. But the funny thing is, it's hidden behind things like Void Campaign and the Void so that it doesn't impact early game and the balance of the progress you make there. Because if it was possible just to straight up and build yourself a Tree of Origin 5 hero immediately at the start of the game, you would just crush. And it is possible, but you have to spend ridiculous amounts of money to do that. So DH Games basically have this mindset where they go, right, we've made this balanced game where you can grind through it for months and months, if not years of playing, and you will have a lovely progressive time. But we're aware there's people who have fear of missing out and want to catch up as fast as they can, so we'll give them the opportunity to spend to accelerate their progress. And if you're free to play and you don't like that, if you find that annoying that there are people out there who can play the game faster and quicker than you, then this is not the game for you. This is an idle game where you are meant to take your time and slowly make progress. If you're treating this game like it's World of Warcraft, where you can log in all the time, grind through, make a ton of progress, and you're rewarded for playing the game more than other people, where time is your investing factor, then unfortunately, that's not how this game works. The way that time is used as a commodity is it's based on the age of your account, how old it is, and how many events your account has completed and seen. Things are fixed on timers. Things are fixed on the weekly reset of events. You can't just grind and magically gun through all the events possible because they change every week at a fixed time and things are progressive. This allows people to advance together unless they spend. And even when they do spend, power creep comes in and rewards people who buy it and punishes those who don't by keeping them held back compared to the people that did spend. And that's the fear of missing out that they add. But really, it's just silly, it's whale bait, and as you guys have seen, things will eventually be given, now or later, to people if you spend or don't, right? Essence Sublimation, for example, is available this week, and it will continue to be available for free-to-play players, provided you've saved up and got enough resources. In fact, I promise you, it'll eventually get to a point where you just get it for free. like the mooncake event, right? It's like, oh, just engage with the content and you'll get it, right? That happens sometimes with artifacts. That will begin to happen with Essence Sublimation, and we'll see that free-to-play players have a much easier time. But the thing is, for the majority of free-to-play players, it doesn't even matter, right? Who cares? You're not even at a point where you can build a Tree of Origin hero. Why are you getting all worked up about it? But of course, though, when these materials and added things that get put in the game start to impact early progress by distracting from things like 5-star chests, that's when newer players begin to get punished. And I think the takeaway from this video is that DH Games, whilst trying to keep mid-spenders and late-game players interested, need to be aware that by adding in materials and things that distract from early-game important items, it becomes a problem for people that pick up the game for the first time, because they struggle and they don't enjoy it. And the problem is, if you can't catch a player when they're playing early, they'll quit the game and they'll leave. And that's the issue DH Games has right now, is they're putting probably too much focus on people who already have established accounts and not enough focus on encouraging new players to join the game. So let me know what you guys think. I think the world for free-to-play players is weird at the moment. Of course, it depends on how long you've been playing. So if you're a free-to-play player, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Please be constructive. Don't go ahead and just use it as an opportunity to complain. Actually evaluate your position as a player, having considered the things we've discussed in the video. And also, mid-spenders, let me know what you think about the fact that the game is now cheaper than it's ever been, because more and more stuff keeps getting added. So by comparison, the stuff we bought a year ago is less impactful, so the price is less high, which is really nice. So you can go ahead and just build and play through the game and actually have a pretty decent time. Obviously, things like Spiritual Essence and Tree of Origin improvements and all that stuff, that's a little more pricey. And Awaken Heroes, I think they're an entirely different thing. That's just pretend the auction house doesn't exist. It's very silly. But yeah, I think the game's in a really nice spot. And I think the one thing they're doing wrong is they are potentially discouraging new players, which is a bit of an issue. So let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching today's video, and hopefully it's been an opportunity to spark some discussion. And yeah, I know it's turned into a bit of a ramble, but sometimes that's what you need, just to unpack your thoughts. I'll see you next time, folks. Happy idling.